Are you struggling when you get two strikes on you? Most players see their OBP dramatically drop when they're down in the count, but it doesn't always have to be that way. Here's how your player can turn two strike counts into better opportunities. Before we get started, my name is Evan Mendoza and I have 7 years of professional baseball experience between the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Diego Padres. And I know what it takes to thrive under pressure. Today, I'm sharing the keys to boost your player's OBP and becoming a better hitter overall. Now, if you want your player to stand out for college coaches, down below, download my free 27-page recruiting blueprint.
All right, so first and foremost, I love looking at stats. I think I've always loved looking at stats, but this right here is from the year 2024, last year, and basically all two strikes. And we're really looking at on-base percentage because on-base percentage tells a really good story on if your player is able to get on base when he's down in the count, right? This is ultimately when you have to be most selective. You can't chase. Pitchers have the opportunity, obviously, to strike you or your player out. So as you can tell, like Steven Kwan, as expected, really good two-strike hitter. Vladdy, Aaron Judge, Freddie Freeman, Jesse Winker, Juan Soto, obviously, these are all great company to be in, right? 300 OBP, for those that don't know, like that's a pretty good OBP league-wide, whether it's, 0 count or basically full count. So a lot of people don't understand this like stat, but a 400 OBP is like really, really good. If you're in the 300s and like even if you're at a 337 on the entire year, that's not terrible, right? These players are doing it with two strikes, right? It just shows the complete hitter, right? If they have the ability to make contact, how they're able to fight off pitches, how they're able to work the count, right? So the best way to really understand OBP is, number one, what is OBP? I guess the very first thing is when you get on base. It's on base percentage, and this is basically taking into account walks and hits, right? So reaching on a fielding error does not count for OBP. Obviously, striking out, getting out does not count because you're not reaching on base. Getting hit by a pitch does. It is included inside that on base percentage. So thinking about this, the easiest way to get hits and the most common way to increase your OBP is to have a higher batting average. But beyond that, are we walking a good amount? Walks are really, really important, and that's something that Juan Soto has been doing for a very, very long time, right? So with two strikes, 337, that's insane. Juan Soto is one of the better hitters lifetime, honestly, with two strikes because he walks so much, all right? And look at this. OPS, even. Vladdy had a 734 OPS. To be honest with you, my entire career OPS was under that, right? So he's doing a lot. He also has a lot of power when it comes to two strike. Aaron Judge, obviously, as expected, his OPS is very high for two strikes. So these stats, you can read into how much damage they're doing with, the OPS. That actually is more or less a complete hitter stat. The slugging is damage, so that you can tell. Over 400, almost 500 for Aaron Judge. That is insane with two strikes. And then on base percentage, that's showing like hits and walks. Obviously slugging, that's how many doubles, home runs, and then OPS, it's kind of a mesh between the two. So to understand really how to become a better hitter, we need to understand how to optimize these stats. And the biggest one, to be honest with you, is how we can walk. I think this is the biggest issue in today's game is high school baseball players and even college baseball players, they don't develop a good eyesight or an eye for the strike zone. So you don't really have a true understanding of the strike zone, and a lot of times you're going to be chasing a lot of pitches. In high school specifically, this is where it's very easy to stand out, to be honest with you guys. Like in high school, not many players have a good eye. In college, there's a lot more. And then in pro ball, and especially in the big leagues, there's a lot of guys that have a really solid understanding of what the strike zone is and what their strike zone is, right? So with that being said, how do you work the count? Are you able to foul off those good pitcher pitches, right? This is all kind of taking into having a good two-strike approach, which is my biggest tip for all hitters out there, is to understand how to hit with two strikes, how to foul off pitches more importantly, because there are going to be borderline pitches on the black that you don't necessarily want to swing at, but the umpire could call it a strike. So you are kind of like obligated to swing at that pitch, and maybe the best thing that you can do is just simply foul it off and live to see another pitch. Maybe the next pitch, it's a 2-2 count. The next pitch is a ball in the dirt, it's an easy take. Now we're in a full count. Maybe there's a couple of pitches down the middle that you can easily just foul off. You live to see another pitch, which is sometimes the motto with two strikes. And then ultimately, maybe the pitcher, loses track of one and it's an easy walk, right? So that is a quick little story, obviously, on how well or how important fouling pitches off are in, this metric of on-base percentage. how well we're able to, reach base with 2 strikes specifically, that's going to be really important. So if we even go down here, we can go and actually change the situation to be behind in count. And this should be a little bit higher because, roughly the same. 322, Luis Rice, as expected, over 300. Behind in the count, again, guys, that means you're basically 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, anything with 2 strikes. Actually, 2-2 might be even count, but basically 0-2, 1-2 basically means the pitcher got ahead of you and you're kind of in the hole. How well are we able to get on base? Well, Luis Rice is hitting 300 when he's behind. So he almost loves hitting behind because he's able to have that contact ability to foul off a couple pitches. So what are the skills necessary to have a good 2-strike approach? Contact, hand-eye coordination. These are all things that you can ultimately develop for either you or your player through repetitions. I've done YouTube videos on how reps really matter. Because the more reps you take, the more muscle memory you're going to understand your swing, understand where your barrel is, how you're able to just fight off to see another pitch, right? So this is something that I actually love doing, is going on MLB stats and just kind of like see what's going on. As far as ahead in the count, we'll see very obviously on base percentage should be a lot higher as expected. Aaron Judge 611, that's crazy. His his OPS almost 1,500, guys. That's insane. So basically, don't get behind Aaron Judge because he's going to make you pay for it. His average, 345, because he's the one in control. So if we put a direct line right in the middle, ahead in the count and behind in the count, you're going to see a lot more failure as expected, right? The game's made a failure. But when you're ahead in the count, this is where professionals, the big leaguers, the best in the game, like Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, Ohtani, Vladdy, Freddie Freeman, Yordan Alvarez, Jesse Winker, Nico Horner, these guys are all getting it done because they are in control of the count. They are in control of their at-bat. And this is probably the most important tip for you guys, is not only to understand your 2-strike approach, how to fight off some pitches, especially those borderline pitches, but more importantly, when you are ahead, make them pay. Make sure that you hit for doubles and home runs. Have that mindset to do damage. Don't just try to get a backside single when you're ahead in the count, whether you're 2-0 or you're 3-1 or even 3-0 if your coach gives you the green light. Not many high school coaches are going to give a green light to high school players. But of course, if you feel confident to swing 3-0, don't ground out to the shortstop. You are here to do damage and really increase your slugging percentage, your OPS, things like that. So really have that understanding of how you can work a count and how dramatically your stats are going to reflect that if you have the eye of a tiger, right? So like if we have that understanding, we're going to increase our OPS, our average, our on-base percentage. These are all very important stats with obviously the understanding of the game moving forward as you progress in your baseball journey.
Mastering a good 2-strike approach not only is going to turn your player into a great hitter, but increase his overall OBP. If your player is ready to stand out among these college coaches, down below you can download that free resource or simply just book a call with me to see if you're a good fit for my Mendoza Baseball Academy.